I'm going to mute everyone because it's suddenly getting noisy. So Lynn or anyone else, if you need to speak, just press your space bar. So settle down onto your back and just arrive, and maybe with your hands on the front of your body. It might be that you just would like to gather your awareness into your breathing. It might be that you'd like to have 2 or 3 big sighing breaths. So just letting yourself settle and arrive, and yeah, what is it that initially you'd like to do? We're going to be doing some movements, some twisty movements, some familiar things lying down. So you could start by having a sense of the back of your head on the floor, and you could then let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left, just keeping it really easy, letting your head ease from side to side. And so noticing how your neck feels, letting the back of your shoulders settle down onto the ground. And from letting your head ease a little bit to the right and to the left, then find a comfortable place to settle the back of your head on the floor. And if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And take a moment to feel the contact of the back of your pelvis on the floor, the contact of your footprints on the floor. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And you can use this little movement, we're starting to bring movement, introduce movement into our body. And we're noticing how it feels. So as your knees tilt to the right and to the left, how does this feel into your lower back, the back of your pelvis, into the hip joints in the front of your body? Good. That's it. So just a few more times, let the knees tilt to the right and to the left, and keep it easy, keep it comfortable. And just once or twice more. And then settle down in the center. And if you like, you could lengthen your legs out now, because we're going to do one of the movements for your upper body. We're going to do the ones where we bring our arms up towards the ceiling and we make a big circle with our arms. So interlinking your fingers, and that's it. And so what you're going to do now is start to rock across your upper back, letting your head, that's it. So you're rocking your circle to the right and to the left. Rocking across your upper back, letting your head move, but keeping your circle circular. And see how this feels across the upper back. So we're starting to focus our attention, focus the movement into the upper back between the shoulder blades. And I always find, whatever I've been doing, this is a place where I can feel tight and a bit tense. That's it. So just feel that if you do notice tension between your shoulder blades, so you can just start, maybe as we rock from side to side, we're easing it out a little bit. Whenever you've had enough, bring your arms down to rest on the floor. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. Give the weight of your arms to the ground. Let your shoulders settle down. And then you're going to come back to bending your knees, standing your feet on the floor. And come back to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left, and see how it feels to come back to that movement. So it's not necessarily that we go further, though we might, but it might be that from loosening ourselves up a little bit in the upper back, that this movement now of the pelvis and the legs and the low ribs feels a bit easier. Good. Okay, once, twice, more, whatever you like. Good. And then we're going to do another movement for the upper body. So again, if you prefer to lengthen your legs out, you could do, or you're very welcome to keep your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. This time you're going to take your arms up and above your chest again, but this time you're going to make a triangle with your arms. So you're going to touch the palms up to the ceiling, touching your palms together. That's it. Keeping your elbows straight. And the same thing. So you're going to rock your triangle to the right and to the left. Don't let your hands slide. And don't let your elbows bend. So if you're going a really long way, just notice what's happening. Good, whether your elbows are bending or, yeah, something's happening that you haven't quite planned. That's it, good. Make sure, of course, your head can go in the same direction as your arms. So a few more times, rocking your triangle of your arms to the right and to the left. Good. And I often find when I'm doing this one with the triangle that I feel more, I find it a bit harder in my upper back, a bit harder going. Good, do let your arms rest whenever you're ready, which might well be now. Good, let the breath come in, let the breath leave you, give the weight of your arms to the floor. That's nice, just let your body settle for a moment. And then one last time, we'll come back to bending the knees, standing the feet on the floor, tilting the knees to the right and to the left. And just seeing how that movement feels now. Good. From here, whenever you're ready, you're going to pause in the center and you're going to fold your knees into your chest and then hold around your knees and do a little bit of rocking from side to side here. So see how, that's very nice. See how it feels to rock, that's it, from side to side with your knees folded in towards you. You can, at a certain point, pause in the center, take your legs up towards the ceiling, give them a bit of a shake out. You can add your arms in if you like. Very nice. Wish you could remove your socks at that point, Sarah. Good. When you've taken your legs up and had a bit of a shake out, then you can fold your knees back in towards your chest and do a bit more rocking from side to side. And what you're going to do eventually is rock all the way over onto one side. Have a few breaths there. And then you're going to make your way over into standing. So yes, when you've made your way over into standing, just there's no rush, take your time. Just settling your feet down in standing on your mat. You can have a look at your feet. So again, we're trying to get our awareness into our feet. So looking at the feet is helpful. We can see that they're a little distance apart, our feet are parallel. And then we can stop looking at our feet and we can start to try and feel our feet. And we can let ourselves sway a little bit from side to side. And how does it feel to be in standing? How does it feel to be taking our weight into our feet, to our awareness, into our feet? Of course, our weight's in our feet. What we're going to do from here is we're going to come into a very, very simple balance. So you can choose from your swaying which foot you would like to bring your weight onto. So rock all the way onto one foot, come up onto the ball of the other foot, and then you're going to bring that foot to stand on your standing foot. And you could gather your hands into prayer pose in front of you if you like. And just see what's it like to be on one foot in this simple balance, but sometimes simple balances are not always easy. And just give yourself maybe a couple more cycles of breath. Good. Come down, maybe give each foot a little shake out. Settle your feet down. So again, you could be looking at your feet. And I always find this helpful when I first come into standing, just to, I suppose, just to help that process of being in the feet. And then you can do a little bit more swaying and then eventually take your weight onto the other foot. So when you're ready, you can shift your weight onto your second foot, come onto the ball of the foot you just stood on. And then how does it feel to bring that foot to stand on the other foot? So we're standing on foot number 2. We can gather our hands into prayer pose. We can let the breath come in. We can let the breath leave us. We can see how does it feel to be on our second foot. This might be the slightly less steady one. Very nice. Good. And just really, what do we discover when we're here? How does it feel to settle down? Okay, let that go. Come down. Give your feet a shake out. And what I'd like you to do is just come onto the each foot in turn. Just come onto the top of your toes. So you feel that you're stretching out the front of your ankle. So each foot in turn, come onto the top of your toes. Good. And then just come to this one, this sort of loose, easy swinging twist where we're swinging our arms, slapping our arms onto our body if we like. Very nice. Good. And so just, I suppose, a sense of the whole of ourselves now. We're going to focus back in on our feet in a moment, but here, feel the swinging of your arms. How does that feel in your shoulders and upper back? Let your feet move on the floor, and you can be aware of that. The pelvis moving, good. Okay, just a couple more times. And then we're going to come to a little series of, I suppose, 3 foot awareness things. We did a couple of these a couple of weeks ago. So settling your feet back down a little distance apart, then bring 1 foot forwards and start to tap your foot on the floor. And you can tap your foot a little bit out to the side and a little bit towards the center. If you like, I've got my hands on my hips, so my pelvis is not moving. And then my leg is moving in my hip joint. It doesn't matter too much. When you've done that, and to stop before it gets too achy in the front of your foot, come back and just see how it feels to be in standing, having tapped 1 foot. So you could close your eyes for a moment. Let your awareness drop down into your feet and your ankles and notice how the 2 feet feel. And then we're going to take the other foot forwards and do the same thing. So the same sort of tapping of foot number 2 in the center and a bit out to the sides. And so this idea of by creating some noise in our feet, maybe we can quieten down some of the noise that might be in our heads. That's what I always feel. Okay, come back. Settle both feet down for a moment. So maybe just for a moment, close your eyes, feel your feet on the floor. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. Maybe give each foot then another shake out in turn. So I always like this little mini balance. So we come onto 1 foot, we shake the other foot. So it's like you're trying to shake your foot off the end of your leg. And then settling the feet down again, we're going to do the one where we drop our heels onto the floor. So it's this one which sends a bit of a little bit of a shudder up through your body, which you may or may not like. So you could do very small little bouncy movements, heels up and down quickly, or you could do sort of big, slow. You could do little slow movements. As I said, lifting the heels, letting them thud back down again. Feeling that reverberation up through your body. Perhaps just a couple more times, particularly if you don't like this one. And then again, just settle yourself in standing. Close your eyes for a moment. How does it feel? if you take your awareness down into your feet, do your heels feel a bit more present in your awareness? That's what I often notice here. I can really feel almost like the bone of my heels in contact with the floor. Good. We're going to do one more foot exercise. So again, if you feel that you want to give your feet a little shake out, again, shifting your weight onto one foot, onto the other. And then this third exercise we're going to do is where we keep the feet on the floor, but we bend our knees and we sort of bounce and shake the rest of us. So the feet perhaps start to feel more and more stuck and planted on the ground. And I'm bending my knees as I do this, shaking my arms out, bending my knees. So everything's moving apart from the feet. And my knees always grumble a bit, but they actually, from doing this, then start to feel a bit happier. Okay. Now, from here, yes, and in fact, yes, from here, we're going to now come into another, just see how it feels to come on, stand on one foot again. So we're going to do a little sequence of balances here. So I'd like you to start to bring your weight onto your first foot again. And then we're going to slide, come onto the ball of the other foot and slide that foot back behind us and flip onto the top of our toes. Good. And you can straighten your back knee if you like, but sometimes that makes my foot cramp. And then slide that foot back in under your pelvis. Let your knee turn out to the side a little and bring your foot onto your ankles, so sort of mini tree pose. And you could bring your hands into prayer pose in front of you at this point. Good. And you can always have some toes on the floor or just the big toe on the floor. And then let your toes come onto the floor. Let your standing knee bend a bit. And we're then going to cross the raised leg over. So the knee is crossing over the other knee. And we're trying not to, at this point, not to lean forwards or back. And have a couple of breaths here. Good. So we've got a bent standing knee. And it might be helpful at this point to be looking down slightly more than forwards. That usually helps the knee feel a bit happier. Good. Okay. Let a breath come in if you can. Let a breath leave you. And then do come out and have a little shake out. And then let's try the other side. So just look at your feet, settle your feet down. And then settle yourself back in standing. We're going to be shifting our weight onto the second foot, coming onto the ball of the foot we just stood on, and then sliding those toes back behind us, flipping onto the top of the toes. Could try straightening the knee a little bit, really feeling that stretch through the front of the ankle. And then that foot, those toes can slide back under our pelvis. We can let our knee turn out to the side a little bit. Our foot comes onto our ankle in this mini tree pose. You can keep your big toe on the ground if you feel wobbly, or even more toes. Your hands can come into prayer pose if you like. It just helps to steady us. Good. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then you can let your toes come down onto the floor, bend your standing knee and cross. That's it, cross the other leg over it. Good. And just have a couple of breaths here in this last little part of the balance. Standing knee bent, our gaze might be a bit more down towards the floor, a metre or two ahead of us. Good. Yes, and do come out then, have a little shake out. So we're going to be coming to the backs of our mat now, and we're going to be coming down and doing, I suppose, a little bit of sequence that will take us down onto the ground and then back up into standing for some more balances. So, yeah, so come to the back of your mat, bring your hands into prayer pose in front of you. Take a moment to feel your footprints on the floor, the contact of your hands, the movement of your breath through your body. You can let a breath come in as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let a breath come in, and then as you exhale, sort of gathering your elbows in, rolling forwards. You could bring your elbows to your thighs, depending how you feel in the lower back in this forward bend. And you can also release your arms to the floor. When we've had a couple of breaths in the forward bend, we're going to be moving on into dog pose. But again, stay as long as you like. You're going to be walking your hands into dog pose, coming forwards. Have a few breaths in dog, and then you're going to be walking back into your forward bend from dog. So come into dog. Of course, bend one knee, bend the other knee, see how this dog pose feels. Have a couple of breaths. And then from dog, we'll be walking back, our hands back into our feet. So coming back into a forward bend, and then moving down through a squat to the ground. So from your forward bend, you're going to start to bend your knees forwards over your feet. And it's fine if your heels come up, because from our squat, we're going to be letting ourselves, to our best ability, roll through the tops of our feet and come down onto hands and knees. And then settle yourself on hands and knees. And you're going to come to some cat movements here. So rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine down to the floor. And just see how these movements feel today at this point in the class. So how does it feel to round your back to the ceiling, to let your head hang? How does it feel to let your spine dip down to the floor? If in doing your cat movements, you feel that it would also be nice for your body, particularly for your lower back, to do some of your tail wagging movements, you could pause in the center, sort of a neutral spine, and you could do a little bit of those tail wagging movements. So imagining you have a tail and wagging it from side to side. Good. And see, what I always like to do is a bit of cat, a bit of tail wagging, and then come back into cat. See if anything's changed. We'll have a bit more ease through the lower back. And then from a rounded up cat, you're going to come back into child pose. So you're going to round your back to the ceiling, look back behind you, rock your hips back over your heels, and then just settle in child, or obviously if you prefer in kneeling, for a couple of quiet breaths. I just need to grab my water from the kitchen. So give yourself a couple of quiet breaths while I do that. And then from child pose or kneeling, so if you're in child pose, walk your hands in towards you, so you come into kneeling. And what we're going to do is just sort of mini camel pose. So you need to walk your fingertips a little bit behind you, either on your fingertips or on your knuckles. And then can you press down into the tops of your feet? Just let your pelvis come up, or your bottom come up away from your heels. Yeah, and you can maybe try this a couple of times. If you find that you can't reach your fingers down onto the floor, you might need to put a couple of books under your hands. So we're pressing into the tops of the feet, trying to let the pelvis come up. It's quite a big stretch through the quads. Yeah, so just maybe 2 or 3 times in that delightful, movement. Okay. And then from there, come back onto your hands. And we're going to move into plank pose from here. So make sure you might want to sort of just try out by lengthening one leg back behind you. Make sure you've got enough mat behind you. My goodness, sorry, I was charging around like a maniac. So lengthening one leg out, make sure you've got enough mat, add the other leg in. You're coming into plank pose for a couple of breaths. From plank pose, we'll be coming on into dog pose. So when you feel you've had enough plank, you can then send your bottom up and back and see how it feels. You're going to be in quite a long dog pose, and you might rather like that, or you might want to step your feet in a little bit. And sometimes I find that I get a really sort of nice dog pose from stepping my feet in plank pose. And give yourself 2 or 3 breaths in dog pose, maybe bending one knee, bending the other, resting down through your arms and your hands. And then from dog pose, we're going to be walking our hands back in towards our feet. And we're going to be rolling back up into standing. So walk your hands back into your feet, come into a forward bend. Give yourself a breath or two in your forward bend, feeling all the weight in your feet. And then we can touch the backs of the hands together. And as we exhale, roll up into standing, trailing the hands up the front of our body, all the way up towards the ceiling, letting the breath come in. And then take the arms out and around in a big circle. Otto's decided to join us now, just at the point at which we're going to come back to some more balances, so not very helpful boy. Okay, so we're going to start. Oi. I can think about it. It's banned from the sofas at the moment. On the bed. So we're going to start by reaching up into one arm and starting to shift our weight into that same leg. So see how it feels. At the moment, your other foot is on the floor. This other arm is heavy and relaxed, the one that's not reaching up. And all I'd like you to do this first time is just to let the heel of the other foot come up. So all of our weight is coming into one leg, into the reaching up arm side, and the heel of the other foot's come up. And we're feeling really long through this side of the body. The other side is heavy and relaxed. Good. Let that go. Good. And then when you've given your arm a little shake out, take the same arm back up again, reaching up into that arm, shifting the weight onto the leg, coming up onto the ball of the foot. This time you're going to go further. You're going to let that foot come off the floor. You're going to catch the top of your foot or your trouser leg. And then you can bring your raised arm down onto your breastbone. And see how it feels to settle here for a few cycles of breath. So you're letting your bent knee drop towards the floor. You're feeling wide across the front of your chest. And maybe see if you can feel the movement of your breath under your hands. So the movement of your breath in your chest, under your breastbone, under your hand. Good. So maybe another cycle of breathing. Obviously, you're coming down whenever you want to. Good. Come down, have a little shake out, arms and legs, and then we'll try the same thing on the other side. So, taking the other arm up, starting to reach into that arm, shifting your weight into the same leg, so obviously the other leg now. Let the other arm be heavy and floppy. And you can then let your heel come up. So that's as far as we're going the first time, just letting the heel of the non-raised arm come off the floor. So really our weight is in the raised arm leg. Good. The other side is sort of heavy and floppy. Lovely. And then release that. Bring both feet back to the floor. If you want a little shake out of legs, you can do that. And then we'll go a little bit further this time. So taking your arm up again, starting that process of shifting your weight into the raised arm leg and foot. Let the other heel come off the floor and then the whole of the foot so we can catch the top of the foot. We can let our knee drop. We can bring our hand onto our breastbone and see how it feels to settle here. So we're encouraging our knee to drop towards the floor. We're perhaps feeling wide across the front of our chest, letting our shoulders soften and drop. Again, maybe making contact with the feeling of our breath rising and falling in our chest. It depends, we may not feel much happening. We could open ourselves to the possibility. Good. Another breath or so if you can. Lovely. You can come down, have a little shake out. We're going to come into a forward bend, and then we're going to go a bit further with that balance. And I think, May, you might have been doing this earlier. When you come into a forward bend, you can do these sort of sweeping around, weeping willow movements of your arms, if you like. So we're just contrasting that, I suppose, sort of quiet focus of the balance with a much looser, freer movement. Obviously, make sure it feels comfortable in your lower back. If it's better for you to bend your knees and rest your elbows on your thighs, you can do. Giving your head to the ground, feeling floppy and loose, as floppy and loose as possible through your upper body. Good. And the arms, heels rooted into the ground. Maybe just before you come back up, pause in the center and have a breath or two there. Could be a big sort of sighing breath. And then coming back up, sinking into your heels, rolling back up, or walking your hands up the fronts of your body. So we're going to come back into, we're going to go back through the sequence, sort of taking the arm up, bringing the hand back to the breastbone. Then we're going to reach our arm and our foot forwards and back, which I think you all know. So it's just really going to the next stage of this balance. So come back to side one, reaching your arm up, shifting your weight into that leg and foot, letting the other heel come up, letting the whole of the foot come up, catching the top of your foot. Good. And then bringing your hand down onto your breastbone and just let yourself maybe steady, settle here for a cycle of breath. And then we're exploring that forwards and back movement where we reach our hand forwards off our breastbone and we reach our foot that we're holding back behind us. So rather than, so now there's this feeling of reaching forwards and back. And you might find a place you would like to stay and breathe, or you might want to come back, bring your hand to your breastbone and then reach forwards and back. So try to really move your foot back away from your bottom. Might be that your body tips forwards a little bit if you like. That's it. We're trying to feel this, and it's fine if we tip over, good. So you're looking for a sort of expansive, enjoyable movement, So countering the endless feeling of lockdown that we're all in at the moment. So and then come down. We will try side two. So come back, maybe look at your feet, settle both feet on the floor. That's our starting point. And then the other arm comes up. What does it feel like to start shifting our weight into that leg and foot? Sneaking our heel off the floor, sneaking the whole of the other foot off the floor. And then the hand comes down onto the breastbone. So let yourself settle here and feel steady here before you go anywhere further. And then just thinking about this reaching forwards, reaching back. Can we expand? Can we take up more space by bringing the foot back away from the bottom, by reaching forwards with our arm? Can we find a place that we could stay and breathe and feel joyful, maybe? Good. Very nice. And again, it might be that you come somewhere, if you have a little wobble and topple out, it's fine. Catch your foot again, maybe just try again. So this is as much about the movement as finding a place we could be. That's nice. And just, what are the possibilities? Very nice. Yes. Beautiful. Well done. So nice. Have a little shake out. So we're going to come back down through that little sequence we did, going down onto the floor, and then we'll come back up for one last balance. So I suppose this is something I've been playing around with in my practice, this sort of coming back to a little sequence in between other things. So come towards the back of your mat. Settle down for a moment, feel your footprints on the floor, bring your hands into prayer pose, Anjali Mudra in front of you. Let your breath come in as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Feel long and tall And then as you exhale, soften your knees, bend your elbows, roll down, gathering in into your forward bend. So we're going to do just as we did the other time we came into the sequence. We're going to be from our forward bend, walking our hands into dog pose, having a couple of breaths in dog. So I suppose we're thinking about these movements as a sequence, so we're not staying anywhere that long, but we want to obviously be in each movement, each position long enough that we can feel it, feel our body in it. So coming into dog for 2 or 3 breaths. Might want to bend your knees, you might not. And then from dog pose, we'll walk our hands back in towards our feet, back into a forward bend. I was quite aware that I went straight into my dog pose without really feeling myself in my forward bend. So in this forward bend, if you were the same as me, just, see how it feels. Letting your head go, letting your arms go. How do the back of your legs feel? How does your lower back feel? And then start to bend your knees. You're coming down in your squat. So bending your knees forwards over your feet. Doesn't matter whether the heels come up, that's it, coming down into your squat, however it is today. And then from your squat, letting yourself rock forwards through the tops of your feet, coming onto hands and knees as comfortably as possible for you. And once you're settled on hands and knees, we'll then move into our cat movements and then a bit of tail wagging as well. So it's interesting, I find, to come back to cat. So this has been one of the other things I've been playing around with a bit this week, is this sort of coming back to cat at some different points during my practice and just seeing how things do change. As I was saying to some of you at the beginning, I was Monday morning, I was in a bit of a state from too much gardening. So it's always, interesting to see how our body responds to different things we've been doing, and also just through our practice, how we can start to find a bit more freedom in our movement. So some cat, a little bit of settling in neutral, a little bit of wagging your tail if you like. Maybe a little bit more cat, and then we'll be coming from a rounded up cat into child pose or kneeling. So when you've done a bit of tail wagging, you might want to come back to a little bit more cat. And then whenever you're ready, in your cat, rounding your back to the ceiling, keeping that rounded spine, looking back behind you as you rock your hips back over your heels, and you settle in kneeling or child pose, whichever is more comfortable. And for a couple of cycles of breath, just really letting your body rest and gathering your awareness into your breathing. Feeling the movement of your breath through your body. And then if you're in child pose, walking your hands in towards you, so you come into kneeling. And again, we're going to do that delightful little mini camel pose again. So if I move forwards a little bit. So this one where we're somehow resting on our fingertips or our knuckles. Could be the flats of your hands, but I end up a bit far back, but that is a possibility. And then we're pressing down through the tops of our feet, trying to lift our pelvis up away from our heels, or our bottom from our heels. And I tend to do this a few times. One thing to watch a little bit in this is the knees might want to wander out, and obviously your thighs are trying to escape that delightful stretch. So it's all about sort of stretching through here. We could do that one more time. Now, I'm going to come into, I'm just thinking what we're going to do. Yeah, come into your plank pose and a dog pose, and then come back down onto the floor, because I just want to show you a little sort of variation in your one-legged dog. But yes, when you're ready, come into plank. Enjoy a couple of breaths in plank as much as we can. Enjoy it. And then from plank, sending your pelvis up and back, coming into dog pose. You can either stay in the long dog that you get from going from plank, or you can step your feet in a little bit. See how it feels. How does dog pose feel? We've done a few. Can you find a dog pose that feels enjoyable, pleasant, pleasurable even, and can you have a few breaths there? Good. And then yes, come back down from dog pose. I mean, this is not going to be anything unfamiliar, but I want us to do this, would like us to do the same movement in dog, in a one-leg dog, and then also in a standing balance. So what you're going to be doing is when you pick one foot off the floor, is you're going to have your knee bent, and then you're going to be rolling your knee, sort of your pelvis up and your knee towards the ceiling, and then finally lengthen your leg out, okay? So it's knee bent, sort of turning the knee upwards, lengthening the leg out. Yeah, that's what I'd like you to try. So it's, I suppose, just really starting off with a bent knee in your one-leg dogs and see how that feels on each side. So the final thing you do, the final thing you do is to straighten your leg out. So we lift the foot up, the knees bent, we sort of roll the pelvis, and then finally, what's it like to straighten the leg out? Just give that a go on each side. And when you've given that a go on each side, you can walk your hands in towards your feet, so you come into a forward bend. You can sink down into your heels in your forward bend. You can touch the backs of your hands together. You can roll up into standing. Good. Have your arms out in a big circle. Very nice. And so, Jan, I think I was thinking of you in this this last balance we're going to do, because anyway, it's one of the ones we like. What we're going to be doing, if I show you, and then you can get if you need anything. So we're going to have one foot stepped forwards. We're going to be folding forwards and making sure our fingertips can come down onto the floor. Front knee is going to be bent to start with, and we're going to come to here. So we've got our back knee bent. We're then rolling the leg up, and then finally straightening that leg out, and maybe coming on into our half moon pose. Okay, so I just brought the block out because if your fingertips don't reach the floor, you might want to book under your fingertips. So you're going to be coming into this position where you've got one foot stepped forwards. We're folding forwards, the front knee's bent, and we're bringing our fingertips to the floor. So this is our starting position. And then we're going to be raising the back leg with the knee bent. So at this point, yes, just make sure you can have your fingers on the floor. So that's what I was suggesting, is that when we bring our back foot off the floor, our back knee is bent. Our standing knee might be a bit bent, and then we start to straighten it. And then we're keeping the back knee bent, the back leg bent. As we turn, roll our pelvis. And then finally, we start lengthening the back leg out behind us, reaching into the back heel. And then obviously maybe we take the other hand off the floor. That's obviously our tricky bit, our half moon pose. So if you keep both hands on the floor, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. There is quite a lot going on in this one. Very nice. Good. Well, beautiful. Well done. Well done. Yes. Well done, Sarah. That was brilliant. So even for a moment, if we get one hand off the floor, we can feel very pleased with our achievement. So you can obviously move on to the second side whenever you want to. So remember, we're starting from this position, one foot stepped forwards. Our front knee is bent. We've got our fingertips on the floor. We transfer our weight into that bent front leg, and we're going to keep the back knee bent for as long as we can. as we roll our pelvis and then finally straighten out the back. So good. Very nice. Really reach, when you finally straighten out your raised leg, really reach back into your heel. So you're sort of drawing your heel towards backwards. That's it, in the opposite direction to your head. Very nice. Wonderful. That's it. Don't worry, if you have to keep both hands on the floor, that's absolutely fine. Good. Lovely. Well done, everyone. Excellent. What you might be pleased to hear now is after that, you're going to, yes, if you want to do any more, you can do. Otherwise, you're going to lie down onto your backs and we're going to do some things on your backs. So, very nice, lovely. So make sure you're going to be warm enough, but yeah, I would probably say don't put on socks yet unless you can do, but because we're going to be doing some, I need to show you. I don't think I need to show you. I think I can talk you into it. So yeah, lie down onto your backs and just settle. So settle, in my book it says settle, breathe, and roll your head. So if you feel like you'd like to do that, sort of rolling your head from side to side. And so just, yeah, how does it feel to be lying down? To be enjoying having the contact of the ground beneath you. And then what I'd like you to do is organise yourself. And I think I will say lefts and rights here. I'm never sure whether it's helpful or not. I'd like you to organise yourself so your right knee is bent, your right foot is standing on the floor, and your left leg is long. And you can have your arms out on the floor beside you, maybe. I think that's probably the most helpful place. And then you're going to start that movement where we press down into our right foot and let the right side of our pelvis come away from the floor. So the pelvis is tilting over towards the left. And you're going to do that movement a few times. So this, I know, is a really familiar movement. We haven't actually done this, I think, on Wednesday class for a while. So you could be coordinating the movement with your breathing, pressing down into your right foot as you exhale, letting the right side of your pelvis come away from the floor, letting your pelvis tilt over towards the left. Good. And just seeing how this feels around the pelvis, into the lower back. Make sure your right knee is moving forwards over your right foot rather than wandering over to the left. So you're sending your right knee over your right foot. Okay. We're going to keep with the right foot standing on the floor and pressing, but we're going to do a couple of different variations with the arms. So the first one I'd like you to do is cross your arms over your chest with your right arm on top. That's it, Sarah, good. So now as you press into your right foot, you're going to let yourself roll across your upper back. So you're rolling towards the back of the left shoulder, good. That's nice. So sort of coordinate that movement. So you start by pressing into the right foot, feeling the right side of the pelvis lift, and then you start to sort of roll across your upper back. That's it. Well, interesting. I'm interested in whether actually it is that you start with your foot. I think it is, or whether everything happens at once. Yeah. I suppose the impetus for movement comes from pressing into the foot, and we let the upper body respond. We let the head also roll towards the left. So do that variation Perhaps 2 or 3 more times. This is nice. We're rolling across the upper back. That's it. You could be reaching your right fingers tips out on the floor on the left side of your body. Particularly if it feels that you're rolling onto your right fingers, reach them out by your side instead. Okay, this time when you come back, we're going to try a different variation. So this one might be a little bit more challenging for the hand and the wrist. What you're going to do is uncross your arms, keep your right knee bent. We're still going to be pressing to the right foot. You're now going to take your right hand onto the floor as if you were going to do a full back arch. So you're standing your hand, that's it. You're standing your hand on the floor next to your head. Your fingers are pointing towards your toes. And now you're going to see how does it feel to press into your foot and into your hand. Yes, Jan, it can be helpful to take your other hand onto that elbow to settle it down. So you're going to, that's it, good. Because as you press into your hand, you're sending your elbow sort of towards the wall behind your head. That's very nice, good. So that's it. And try this a few times. So pressing down into the foot, down into the hand. So you're rolling your weight towards your left side again, but in this sort of different way. Good. Well done. Yeah, once you're rolling, Marie, you might want to release that left arm onto the floor. Right, that's it. I would always have the left arm coming out at shoulder height, because otherwise I find I'm on the floor, because I find I tend to roll on, that's it, roll on top of it otherwise. Okay, very nice. So do this perhaps once or twice more. And then we'll have a little mini breather, and then we will come on to doing these movements on the other side. So that's it. So exactly, might be nice to lengthen both legs out on the floor now, or bend both knees. Release your arms by your side. Feel a couple of cycles of breath moving through your body. And then when you're ready, you can organize yourself. So you've got your left knee bent and your left foot standing on the floor, and your arms resting on the floor beside you. So we'll come back to the first movement where we're just pressing into the left foot, letting the left side of the pelvis come away from the floor, and seeing how this feels. How does this feel? Into the front of the left hip joint, into the lower back, through the left side of the body, through the right side of the body as we're rolling our weight towards the right side of the pelvis. So the pelvis is tilting towards the right now. Very nice. Remember again that as you press into your left foot, you're sending your left knee forwards over your footprint, rather than letting that left knee wander towards the right. We just find a bit more opening through the front of the hip joint if we do that. Okay, the next time your pelvis comes back on the floor, you can cross your arms over your chest with your left arm on top. That's it, good. And start that movement now where we're pressing into the left foot and we're rolling across our upper back. So our weight is rolling towards the back of our right shoulder. Our left fingertips can sort of reach out along the floor away from our body on our right side. That's it, very nice. So this is the relaxing version, I think. It's where we're giving ourselves a bit of a massage. So enjoy this. And then when we come to the last version in a moment, yeah, so do this a few more times and enjoy it. And then when we come to the last one, that's a little bit more challenging. You might really like it. Good. So you can obviously stick with this one with your arms crossed a little bit longer if you like. But when you want to, you can then move on to that final version where we're keeping the left knee bent, keeping the left foot on the floor. That's it. bringing the left hand to stand on the floor by the side of our head, like we would for full back arch. And fingertips pointing towards the toes, if you can work out where that is. And as you exhale, pressing down into your foot and your hand. So the left side of the pelvis is coming off the floor. The left shoulder, the back of the left shoulder is coming away from the floor. We're sending our left elbow towards the wall above our head. Very nice. So we've got this sort of long opening through the left side of our body. And yeah, fabulous. Repeat this another couple of times if it feels okay. Again, come back to remembering that you're sending your left knee forwards over your foot, because as we come to this, it becomes even more, even easier for the left knee to start to wander over to the right. And you can, yes, you can, good. You can release. Some of you are folding your knees into your chest. You could lengthen your legs out on the floor, whatever you like. Let's see, what I just thought we would do then is see how it feels to come to bridge pose with both feet on the floor. So planting both knees bent, settling both feet on the floor. So how does it feel to press into both feet? And let the whole of the pelvis and some of the spine pick up off the floor. And you could roll up and down a few times into bridge pose. And see how that feels. And very nice, good. And I'm not suggesting necessarily you do it now, but you could just think about full back arch, because this would be this would be some of the good preparation for full back arch. Yeah, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying float the possibility through your mind that maybe in the summer term, especially if we're able to meet in person. Okay. And then fold your knees into your chest. And just do a little bit of rocking from side to side. How are we doing? So yes, very nice, Jan. Well done. Like the thought translated into reality. Excellent. Yeah, it's a little bit of rocking with your knees folded into your chest, maybe a little bit of taking your legs up towards the ceiling, giving them a shake out. Very good. And then that's nice. And then I think we'll just, we're going to settle down just for a little bit of quiet breathing on our backs. So yeah, if you do want to put on socks, this would be a good point, or a blanket over you. It might be quite nice just before you'll look like you're settling down. So I think just settle down at this point. If there's any little movements, I was just going to say knees bent, feet standing on the floor, tilting your knees to the right and to the left. So you could do that one if you like. Otherwise, just settling yourself on your back with your blanket if you like. And you can lie with your knees bent or your legs long, whatever's most comfortable. And we'll start by just this sort of focus of the contact of the back of our body on the ground. So bringing your awareness to how the back of your head is resting on the ground. And if you like, you could let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. That helps to ease out the back of your neck. You could settle your head in the center. If it feels that the back of your neck would benefit from a little bit more gentle lengthening out, you could lift up your head in your hands, interlink your fingers, gently lengthen out the back of your neck. Place your head back on the floor. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Bring your awareness down to your shoulders. So notice how the front of your shoulders feel, and can you sort of let them soften and fall back a little bit? And notice how the back of your shoulders is resting on the ground. So the more we can let the shoulders soften and undo, it's very helpful. You know, for many of us, that's where we hold our tension, worry. So the shoulders settling down. Notice the contact of your elbows on the floor. Let the weight rest there. You've either got your hands on the front of your body or your hands resting on the floor. So noticing where your hands are. Let the centers of the hands be soft and relaxed. Centers of the palms. And bringing your attention back to the back of your body, letting your awareness travel down through your back, noticing which parts of the back of the rib cage are in contact with the floor, which vertebrae are touching the ground. So there's going to be spaces and there's going to be points of contact. And how does it feel on the right? How does it feel on the left? All the way down to the back of the pelvis, noticing how each side of the pelvis is resting on the ground. And letting the weight of those heavy bones settle down. And then depending how your legs are organised, if your knees are bent, you can feel the contact of your footprints on the ground and noticing which parts of the foot you can feel, the heel, the outer edge of your foot. I think I've just got a dog food delivery arriving, so I'm going to open the door. Sorry about that. Good. If your legs are long, feeling again which points of the backs of your legs are in contact with the ground. All the way down to the back of your heels. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. So thank you very much. Sorry about the little interruption there. So standing here saying, oh, I'm very pleased the dog food's arrived.